With us, we've also got Rajni Bakshi joining in from Gateway House. Rajni, just talk us through, what you made of his mentions of Pakistan, of the fact that even our neighbor needs to create, an atmosphere to renew those bilateral talks, and the fact that he's chosen this platform to bring up this topic once again.
I think the most significant part of his speech in this respect, and in fact in an overall sense, was his beginning with the starting point of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Now, of course, the challenge here lies in how you translate that philosophy into action. My assessment is that by deliberately leaving out any contentious issues in this speech, I think he has made a move in the right direction. The basic point has been, I think, made very crystal clear that we have to unitedly, as a world family, take action and create an atmosphere where countries that are harboring terrorism can no longer do so.
Absolutely. Just to also bring in some of the other important things he talked about, Mr. Bhattacharya, coming back to you for a moment there, he did increasingly talk about multilateralism, making it a point to mention that India has its own ideology, as we also just heard from Rajni. Also talking about how the UN needs to be more democratic and take into account that all countries will have their own needs and, and of course, their own concerns as well. What do you take away from the fact that he was fairly he fairly emphasized this point?
Well, India has had a long demand, so to say, with the UN establishment that its economic, demographic, and strategic importance in a global sphere should be adequately recognized in the various arms of the United Nations, particularly in the Security Council. Without specifically mentioning that point about India's role in an expanded Security Council, I think the subtle message was conveyed that India wants a kind of a changed order within the United Nations to reflect India's growing importance, clout, and a place in that high table. So I think that point was not made very obvious, but the subtle hints were clearly perceptible.
What do you make of it, Rajni? Obvious or subtle, the fact that he did say the UN Security Council must be more participative, and he also said it has to be more democratic and effective, and he looks forward to a more reformed UN in the year ahead.
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Absolutely, and I think in this there's another very important element which again derived from his point about Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, where he identified India as being intrinsically a culture about dialogue and non-conflict with nature. Now, I know that this is more to do with environment, but actually if you look closely, the most contentious issue of the future, and in fact, very much the near present, as you know, climate change negotiations are one of the most troubled, things on the multilateral agenda of the world. So these 2 points, the commitment towards dialogue and towards fostering systems that are not in conflict with nature, this is a very important stand. And it was very significant that he made the point as coming from philosophy rather than ideology.
Right. And why do you say that, Rajni? What do you take away? How do you interpret that, the fact that he brought in the philosophical angle?
Because I think that raises the discourse to a more universalist level. It takes it away from the immediate, what we call in Hindi khich pitch, or, the petty disputes which tend to grab the front page headlines on a day-to-day basis. And so occasions like this, a platform like this, a moment like this is actually ideal for taking a loftier, more philosophical, look at the whole situation, and in a sense giving all leaders and the world community a chance to approach the familiar problems from a more philosophical vantage point. You know, that opens all kinds of possibilities. I know that it's very difficult to translate that into action when you're back, you know, at your desk the next day, but at least it raises the bar on what we are aspiring for. That's very significant.
Absolutely. Mr. Bhattacharya, would you agree, and once again, would you say that the Prime Minister has been successful or in fact exceeded expectations when it comes to setting that barrier pretty high and coming across as a very sort of you know, mature and seasoned politician that's there on this platform representing his country?
Well, you know, I mean, I think his ideas on multilateralism, his message to Pakistan, and his clear assertion that India must get its due place in the United Nations high table are all unexceptionable, and he made those points pretty effectively. So from India's point of view, the Prime Minister's message was very effective, and it made the points quite clearly. So I am not disappointed from what the Prime Minister said.
Mr. Bhattacharya, what else are you looking forward to hearing from the Prime Minister over the course of this visit? Of course, tomorrow we have the Madison Garden address as well, which is highly anticipated, and where he's going to be addressing Indian Americans and has already raised, of course, a huge amount of funds from that gathering as well. Any specific, you know, talking points that you're hoping to hear him bring up tomorrow?
The manner in which he can enlist greater support from the American investors, and because I'm actually looking forward to the message that he conveys to the many CEOs, the American CEOs he's meeting, and what kind of policy environment is he going to promise to those people, so that the foreign investors' disenchantment with the kind of policy uncertainty and the kind of policy paralysis that concern is addressed. So I think those are and his meeting with the Madison Square Garden meeting is essentially addressing the NRI community, and since he comes from Gujarat, and Gujarat also has got a strong NRI community in the United States, so I'm not going to attach too much importance to that. But definitely his meetings with those 11 CEOs and those 6 CEOs one-on-one are going to be pretty significant, particularly from the point of view that how much investment can he actually get for the Indian economy. India's infrastructure requirements are huge. He's already got some money from Japan. He has got some assurances from China. One still doesn't know how much of it will actually fructify. But U.S. has been a major investor, particularly in key critical areas. And U.S. also has got something to actually has got some issues to resolve with the U.S. There is an issue of India's stand on WTO. That is something that is causing concern in the United States. India's points on the offset policy on defense procurement is a cause of concern for a company like Boeing. So there are many other economic issues, and I think one would look forward to getting some clear signals as to how the new government under Mr. Modi those issues get resolved, or you see a way forward.
Mr. Bhattacharya, Rajni, thank you so much for joining us and taking us through your reactions and of course sharing your views with us this evening. That's all from us for now, but we will of course also be tracking the live address tomorrow.